Yeditia a year appointees are John Dramani Mahama a day or more about to say. Vetting a consopana pressure so dear a be Eda a year and phobi so a year kujato a blackwa a year Sam George the natural service and yet a gosoka. Now vetting a year a move a gigi Manchester 9 and yet a gosoka. Na a year say her said a year Ghana about AC airqua. Your papa bako edin sembi abetuja HSA John Dramani Mahama is a failed government. A DNT and worker sansa was say emra a year John Baumia introduced digitalization almost say emwa Ghana card not almost see a year. A year drones no more say and some fatan sanko for ya NHS vetting room or more aqua or more airborne a year. Baumia about that means omukro munim omo left from omo right omunim DHS omo eye ebusia station na yemkotie eye ensem obudi to janibiam.
Listen, if you live within the reality of the NDC or within the frame of the understanding, you definitely would never learn, and consequently you never become a better person. Now they are trying to condition your mind that Akufo-Addo is setting Mahama up for failure, isn't it? Now let's do some logical reasoning, because in the NDC it is prohibited for you to think. Let's do some little thinking. Now the first question is that who set Mahama up to bring doomsday in this country? Who set Mahama up to cancel nursing and teacher trainee allowances? Who set Mahama and his boys up to come and lie to us that free SHS was impossible to implement? Did anyone put Mahama at gunpoint to come and tell Ghanaians that he's a dead goat? Did the MPP set Mahama up to pay people 3 months after they have worked 3 years in this country? Did anyone force Mahama at gunpoint to tell Ghanaians that 4 years was not enough for any president to effect change? But he came looking for that same 4 years. So what is new? All of this I've mentioned to you happened under Mahama's administration, which he did not inherit from the MPP. So who is he going to point fingers at for his failure in his last government? They are trying to use the MPP and their so-called overinflated failure to tell us that yes, they will fail. But if they fail, it is because of the MPP. How does that make sense? So why were you seeking the power? Why were you looking to come into government? I mean, let's do some logical reasoning. You blame the MPP for the crisis we have been through for the past 4 years in this country, and you still want to point fingers at the MPP for the crisis we'll be facing in the next 4 years. How is that possible? Like, who does that? If not a narcissist or, like someone who is not in the right frame of their mind, you blame me for your problem and then blame me for my problem. How is that possible? We only know one nature of Mahama. And our nature barely changes. Like the nature of a human being barely changes. It's not as if Mahama has gone to India and then he's reincarnated or, he has been some kind of baptized or, put under some spiritual water, be that all of a sudden he's become a mastermind. He can do everything and the MPP is sabotaging him. We already know Mahama. Mahama has failed in his first government. And his track record is what we use to measure this current government. So for me, if Mahama starts cancelling things, I know his track record. I know that he is used to cancelling things. If he starts to insult Ghanaians, I also know that, he's used to doing that. It's not new. Like nobody is forcing him at gunpoint. All the things Mahama said in his previous government, nobody kept him at gunpoint for him to say all of the things he said. It was just that was his true nature. So if he comes to fail, for me, I'm not going to gaslight myself or, be delusional and say it's the MPP that have sabotaged him. In fact, if anybody can be sabotaged, it's not a former president who knows every aspect of government, who knows every corner of government, and also who has been given, a parliamentary majority, emphatic parliamentary majority. You cannot lie to anybody. You see, I saw a certain video and then one guy was saying that, God shamed the NDC by giving them everything so that Ghanaians will see if they can fix anything. And that's the same thing we believe. We in the MPP, most of us we just feel like we wish like Mahama can come and show Ghanaians pepper. And one way or the other, maybe our wish have been granted. Mahama has come. We knew that we knew that he could not do anything. That's why we're singing to you that Mahama is not an option. So if Mahama comes to fail, it's just like I told you so. It's not like somebody sabotage him. Nobody can sabotage a former president, especially nobody can just simply sabotage a former president who knows every aspect of the country, who knows every corner in government, and who has gotten an emphatic parliamentary majority. It is just impossible. So you guys should stop all the blame shifting and all the gaslighting and all the threatening people. We are not threatened. You can't threaten anybody. You are not more black than anybody. You are not more Ghanaian or more African than anybody. The chaos you can propagate the same chaos. It's just that we just want to be diplomatic. It's just that some of us want to be civilized. So don't bring that your nonsense of threatening people and thinking that you can get away with it. Nobody is going to be threatened in this country. Mark my words. For me, you cannot threaten me. And so nobody is going to stop me from criticizing Mahama's government. I will do it and do it every day with every enthusiasm. If you are a Ghanaian, especially the youth, tighten your belt and sit very tight, because the next 4 years of this nation's life is about to be bloody. The insensitivity of John Dramani Mahama and his appointees is going to be on a completely different level. You would agree with me that every nation's pride is in its sovereignty and freedom, and the duty of every nation is to lead its people into a prosperous life. The most important of all is economic freedom, the ability to be born in your country, grow in your country, and survive in your country, live in your country. For a developing country like Ghana that is lacking in many aspects of development, it should tell you that no one needs a generation of trained, educated, and energetic youth than this country. In the last 4 years of our lives, we've been constantly told that the fact that Ghanaian youth are choked at Kotoka International Airport seeking to travel abroad in search of a greener pasture or otherwise was a clear sign of failure on the part of government, and that if things were better here, if things were good here, they would not have had to travel abroad, even though for each person that traveled needed close to $10,000, which is approximately 1.5 billion old cedis. But still, the MPP government had mismanaged the economy and there was no money in the system. But here is where it gets tricky. The new government we have, not only are they incompetent and clueless, they are also beginning to turn into a national crisis, a national emergency, and enemies of our survival. After all the dialogue, they, in the best of their mind, want to bring a policy that will promote and aid the human resource of this country to go out there and build other people's economy, build other nations' economies. And the most dangerous thing about it is that they are proud to say it. If you had any hope in any 24-hour economy, this is now evidence for you to start thinking twice as a youth in this country. Just listen for yourself.
So under my leadership, I will seek to aggressively pursue economic diplomacy in a way that allows for bilateral agreements to be signed. There are many countries looking for Ghanaian nurses, looking for Ghanaian teachers, looking for Ghanaian professionals, looking for Ghanaian workers in the domestic setting, artisans. Why can't we take advantage of that to solve our unemployment crisis?
Oh, so now traveling abroad is your government's best way of creating jobs for the people? Why can't we create our jobs here, keep our people here, and build our economies here? This move by the NDC is the most shameful act that any African government could ever think of. We've become so weak and degraded to the extent that our government's best way of creating jobs for the people is by properly and diplomatically feeding our human resources to our slave masters again. This time we don't expect them to bring chains and then ships. No. We will process our own people and give to them so that other people's economies will be built and ours will be ignored. That is the plan of the NDC. And can you imagine if that is what a government thinks that is the best way of creating jobs for their people? With all the gold, with all the bauxite, with all the diamond, with all the cocoa, with all the oil, with all the rich lands that God has blessed us with, our government thinks that the best way is to train our youth here, waste our resources, waste our money, and then transport our human resources to our slave masters. Go and check the history of the whole world and come and tell me one developed nation that at one particular moment thought it was very wise to train their human resource and send to another country. Just one. I just need one developed nation that ever tried this move. The NDC must come out with an apology to admit that they were incompetent in the first place to even make such utterances and to even make the mistake of thinking in that direction. But if they still believe in their guts that is their best possible way of creating jobs for the people, then I bet them that election 2028 they've lost it completely.